So I did a little Q&A on Instagram, and I think it might be a cool time to address those questions now. Just, a little podcast type setting. So this will be obviously at the end of the vlog. So if you are still watching, thank you, and I appreciate all of you guys. So the first question was, what is your goals with this podcast? So obviously I want this podcast to grow. I want this podcast to obviously be the best version of itself, be a great representation of me, what I believe in, my values, my beliefs, and, just trying to better myself and learn from other people. I want to learn from other people. That's why there's always guests on and not really, myself just talking the way I am right now. I want this podcast to be a place where people can come and learn something, where people can come and be like, wow, I actually learned something from Jesse because he had this guest on, he had that guest on, and I really benefited from that. So I want this podcast to grow to be, the biggest in Africa. I'm not even going to lie. I want it, even in the world. I want to set my next goal right now is to have 15,000 listens of this podcast by the end of the year. If we get there, amazing. If we don't, I'm not even thinking about if we don't, because we are. I am going to work as hard as I can to make sure and make it a reality that I have 15,000 active listeners on this podcast by the end of 2020. And then another question over here is, would you move overseas to pursue a career in YouTube? I don't believe I would. I think South Africa is an amazing place. I love South Africa, and I've been very blessed to do financially well in South Africa. Obviously not financially well of YouTube, but I've done financially well in terms of my two businesses. So obviously growth, I would love to grow. I would love to grow far more than I ever have, and possibly I would do better in America. But I love South Africa. I love the weather. I love the economy. I know it sounds weird to say I love the economy, but there are so many opportunities for people in South Africa to make money. Yes, maybe people have more money to spend overseas, but people in South Africa are just set and they're too scared to try. They're too scared to try their own businesses and their own, they're too scared to be able to just be like, I'm going to risk it. They're too scared to say, I am going to risk it today. I am going to put myself out there and I'm going to try start my own business. And for those people that do, bro, those people are successful. Those people that do their own things, 9 times out of 10, if you push super hard, you have a clever idea, you're going to be successful. In South Africa, especially. So here's another one. What do you drink during the day? Except, it's supposed to be except, I assume, BCAAs, coffee, and water. So obviously being strict, I do have, your Coke Zeros, your Fanta Zeros, Pepsi Maxes, anything really to help cravings. And I know this what to mean that everything in these sugar-free drinks are bad, but people say cancer is caused because of sugar as well. So there's not enough research to tell me and to turn me off on the fact of, sugar-free drinks. So I drink maybe, 500 mils every 2 to 3 days. So it's not every single day, but there have been times where I have. And it's not the end of the world. There's times I've had monsters every single day and I've been okay and I've still seen results. I don't know about my internal organs. I don't know about the cancer formation in my body. I'm not going to say that it doesn't affect cancer the way people claim it does. I don't have enough insight into that. But for me, the way I am, the way I live, I feel it's still better than living an unhealthy life. There's far more things that, can affect you worse than having, a Coke Zero every second day. Can you explain the process of how you prepped yourself for a show? So Sasha's sister, Kieran, Vele, there were so many people that were doing the show with me. There were so many people that, were going through the same thing as I was. So it made it a lot easier and it helped me, be more strict because I was doing it myself and I didn't have a coach. So I didn't have anyone telling me what to do. The buck stopped with me, which I enjoy, and that's also why I like owning my own businesses, right? So obviously, bro, I've had coaches and I've taken certain aspects from coaches that I enjoy. Certain aspects I don't enjoy, I left, So coming into the show and being, on my own, basically, do I deserve a cheat meal? Don't I deserve a cheat meal? I was a bit too strict on myself at times, and sometimes I was a bit lenient on myself. So, it's all a bit of give and take, learning as you go. And I definitely think it's an amazing experience. And obviously, if I do another show, I will prep myself again. I'm not going to pretend that I know more than someone else. I'm not going to pretend that because I'm prepping myself, I'm better than anyone else. I'm definitely not, and I have a lot to learn. However, I just enjoy, the being, telling myself I have to be strict. I enjoy the fact that there's times where I don't want to be strict. There's times where I do not want at all. There's absolutely no reason why I want to diet. But sometimes just like, bro, but you have to. You got a show coming up, you have to. Whereas if you got a coach, it's kind of, it's easier to be strict because you're like, I've got to check in photos in 2 days. I can't cheat on my diet because I've got to check in with this coach in 2 days. And I've got to check in and see, how my body looks. And he's going to be like, bro, I can see you have not been following the diet. What's up, And with myself, I can look in the mirror and I can be like, you can pretend I look better, I look this, I look that. But when you're prepping yourself for a show, you almost don't have a choice. You're kind of just like, bro, be strict, be strict, be strict. And that's what I did. And there was times where I did look at myself in the mirror and I did think, you look good, you're fine, you have a cheat meal. Then the next day I'm like, actually, I did not deserve that cheat meal. I shouldn't have had that cheat meal. And it's a learning process, and the process was difficult, and I did a lot more research, and I learned a lot about the human body doing it. So for me, I learned a lot, and I definitely think I will use a coach once or twice. I will definitely for another show, or even not for a show, just in general. But I really love prepping myself, and probably next year I will do the same and prep myself again. Okay, final question here was, please explain carb cycling, mate. So carb cycling is essentially cycling, changing between having carbs and not having carbs. So there's many ways to do it. There's ways of 1 day on, 1 day off. There's ways of 2 days of carbs, 1 day of no carbs. There's ways of like 3 weeks of carbs, 1 week of no carbs. So there's many different ways to skin the cat. Everybody's body is different, but essentially the premise of carb cycling is, almost loading yourself up with carbs, filling your glycogen levels, then decarbing, replenishing the body so that the next time you do have carbs, your body is super receptive to the carbs and your body adapts to the carbs, and your body, so let's say you've been having carbs for 5 days, right? You have carbs for 5 days consecutively. Your body kind of gets used to those carbs and your glycogen levels fill up. You can see, I'm sure most of you know that if you have, let's say, a lot of carbs for an extended period of time, your body starts to get soft. This is essentially your leptin levels and your body kind of being, too much glycogen in the body, and your leptin levels stop. Your fat burning hormone stops. It starts to, it's on decline. Then you take away the carbs, just fats, protein, slightly a little bit of carbs. So depending on your body type and your weight, you will take away all your carbs, some of your carbs, still leave in some carbs. And taking away these carbs and you're still training, obviously, you're still training hard, your glycogen levels are going to start to deplete because you're working the muscle. So, the energy is being used in the muscle and the carbs are being used and the glycogen is replenishing. So this also increases the leptin level, the leptin hormone in your body to increase because you have been feeding your body quite a bit. Then you kind of shock your body into be like, and you take it away. So if you think about, anything, if something is there forever, then you suddenly take it away. You've taken advantage of something because it's always been there. Then you suddenly take something away, then you're like, I really need that. You put it back, there's far more appreciation. It's like the body. If you think about, you're super healthy, you don't think about, it's so nice to be able to breathe properly. It's so nice to be able to use my nose. But then the moment you get sick, the moment your nose is super blocked and you can't breathe properly, you're thinking, why did I ever take advantage of breathing? Why did I ever not, appreciate my breath as much as I should? That's exactly the same as your body, all of these carbs, it's kind of your body just kind of gets complacent. It's like, okay, I don't need to do anything now. You take away the carbs, your body kind of goes into a mini survival mode, and then you introduce the carbs back in, then it starts burning. It starts to use the carbs for protein. It helps protein synthesis. It helps your body to be able to build muscle, burn fat. So essentially, it's basically just shocking your body back into using carbs positively, because the moment you have too much carbs, your body doesn't use it correctly. So it's basically just allowing your body to use carbs better, and having, let's say, 3 days of high carbs followed by 1 day of decarb, it allows you to have more carbs. Whereas if you just have 6 days of high carbs, it's not going to benefit you a lot. So you kind of have 2 high, 1 low, 1 moderate. There's many methods, but basically a decarb or 2 a week, it allows your body prior or post the decarb state to be able to handle and utilize the carbs the best way. So guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate every single one of you. I appreciate every single one of you that has listened this far. I hope you guys have a fantastic week, and hopefully check you soon for some podcasts. Peace, guys. Have a good one.